So after Democrat Jon Ossoff's loss to Karen Handel in Georgia's 6th district, a lot of people are trying to assess what happened. And the good news is I have all the answers. No, I don't. I don't have all the answers. But there is one line of thinking that I would like to dispel. Now, I'm going to show you a few tweets from Joy Reid here, and I'm not trying to target Joy, but she often tweets what the conventional wisdom is, and it exposes the mistakes that Democrats make and what they could be learning to actually win elections. So this is a tweet that she tweeted out saying, "Interesting to see Dems and liberals speculating more money or different positioning would have helped Ossoff, rather than being a Republican. Republicans vote for Republicans, particularly in Republican districts. Democrats can't turn those voters into Democrats or convince them." So this is the traditional thinking, that these are the voters that come out in these districts, and we need to appeal to the Republican voter. So we need to be more moderate. We can't support single payer. Jon Ossoff didn't support single payer. We can't seem like we're too left. We can't seem too radical. So we're going to run just a standard fare, Republican light type candidate, somebody in the middle who can appeal to those voters. So this is the mistake that Democrats make. Those voters, the people that you're trying to appeal to you, they're already going to vote for the Republican. Why would they choose the Republican light candidate when they have the actual thing? So there has to be a complete change in strategy. Now, you have to look at the turnout of how many people actually came out to vote. And the unofficial number right now is about 46%. So less than half of the people in the district came out and voted. Now, they try to sell that as a good number because it was higher than last time. But it's still less than half the people in the district. So more than half of the people that live there are disillusioned with the two-party system, are disillusioned with the options that they have. They didn't feel compelled to come out and vote for either candidate. Now, wouldn't it make sense to try to think, how do we get those voters, the people that don't want to come out and vote for either party or either person, how do we get those people? Let's go out and talk to those people. What would make them come out and vote? And that's why you need to have a radical agenda. You need to sound different. You can't just sound like you can't sound like Nancy Pelosi as a 30-year-old man, which is what Ossoff was sounding like and what he was being also marketed as. So why not try to appeal to somebody else? Why not try to appeal to people that aren't voting? And that's largely what Bernie Sanders did. And that's why the Bernie Sanders mold of doing things is smart, because you're bringing out people that don't normally vote. And I mean, the most recent example of this is Jeremy Corbyn. He brought out 74% of the youth vote. And I believe the overall voter turnout was 72%, or I believe it was in the 70s. So a large amount of people came out and voted. And that's how Jeremy Corbyn ended up performing as well as he did and blowing everybody away, because people that didn't normally vote came out and voted. And that's why all the predictions were so off, because those prediction models often depend on who come out and vote. So if you're just looking at the voters that tend to come out and normally vote, and not looking at the people that don't normally vote and may now want to vote this time, then you're going to have your prediction model is going to be off, because you're only looking at people that are voting. So this is why there needs to be a new strategy where Democrats are actually going after these people who hate politicians, who hate the two-party system. There has to be a way to do that. And you do that with a unique message, with a policy-based message, something that sounds different and doesn't just sound like it's in the mold of Washington. And the funny part here is that Joy Reid actually goes on to contradict herself. So she then tweets in this same thread, "Jon Ossoff ran quite a strong campaign, but short of actually being a Republican, there's nothing more he could have done. Except for one thing, find more Democrats and get them to the polls. That's the magical elixir you're looking for, folks. Find more Dems." Yeah, find more Dems. Like the people that were not voting. A lot of people are tired of this two-party system. They're tired of the standard talking points. They want to hear some new, bold ideas. That's what excites people to go out and vote. And I understand this is a special election. This isn't even 2018. So there isn't a lot of fervor around going out and voting right now. But when you have a strong message, it cuts through all that shit. And it also helps when you put money into the campaign. So Ossoff had the money, but he didn't have the bold, strong message. Now, when you have both the money and the strong message, then that's when you have a successful campaign. And another reason why you shouldn't be running Republican-light candidates is, doesn't it kind of defeat the purpose of having two parties? Like, why would you run a candidate that is representative of the same ideas that your opponent has? Or maybe just a nicer version of those ideas? That doesn't really make a whole lot of sense. If you're going to have two parties, I mean, at least have two distinctly different visions. Why have the same vision for both candidates? And I understand Ossoff is not Karen Handel. He was clearly more liberal in his policies than Handel was. But still, he wasn't interested in taxing the rich. That wasn't part of his message. And I understand a lot of the district is rich. But again, 46% of the people voted. Do you think everyone there is rich? Probably not. So if you have a message of, you know what, I am going to tax the rich, then maybe you're going to get people coming out who aren't rich, who don't normally vote. So there's this weird kind of bubble that people are living in where they're only looking at people that normally vote, instead of looking at the idea that, why aren't these people voting? Why isn't everybody voting? Maybe it's because our message isn't unique and distinct enough to actually bring people out to come vote. And I want to show this one commercial that the Republicans ran against Ossoff, because it's brilliant. I think it's one of the smartest commercials I've seen run, one of the smartest political commercials I've seen run.
Hi, Georgia. San Francisco just wanted to say thank you.
We already have Nancy Pelosi as our congresswoman. Now you're going to give us Jon Ossoff as our congressman.
We're proud that California is the leading funder of the Jon Ossoff campaign.
He's one of us.
We're really excited that Jon Ossoff likes higher taxes.
Pelosi and Ossoff weaken the military. ISIS? They're overrated.
San Francisco loves them some Jon Ossoff.
Congressional Leadership Fund is responsible for the content of this advertising.
That is one of the most brilliant ads I've seen run against a candidate. It paints Jon Ossoff as this outsider, as this guy who has this money rolling in from California, who's this hippie, progressive liberal. And here's the thing with a commercial like this. Who watches television? Generally, older people watch television. That's not to disparage people that are older watching this right now. I'm not trying to paint you all with one brush. But that's who watches TV. That's who sees these kinds of commercials. Generally is who sees these commercials. So when you have this framing of the candidate like this, and who's seeing it? The older white voter who generally votes conservative sees this commercial. It will definitely encourage those people to come out and vote. Now, if you're a Democrat, you may think, wait, this isn't the Jon Ossoff I know. Let me actually look into Jon Ossoff and see what he actually represents. And then you find out he doesn't really represent what this commercial is trying to portray him as. But for the general conservative voter who sees a commercial like that, yeah, it's going to encourage them to come out and vote. But that's why it's even more important to have a distinct, bold message. So if you see a commercial like that, you may realize, wait, I've actually heard what Jon Ossoff's about, because he has a memorable, bold message, a bold platform that he's running on. And this commercial either represents or doesn't represent him. So when you have a bold message, it cuts through a lot of these attack ads. But I mean, Democrats should find a way to try and use this sort of idea against Republicans, because it's brilliant. So like, if maybe having a commercial showing Karen Handel being a part of lobbyists and being a part of the high society and the rich, and maybe having it shot at like a country club. So basically putting her as, look, this is a standard, typical Washington Republican who doesn't care about you, cares about cares about her big donors and the special interests, and that's who you're voting for if you vote for Karen Handel. Something along that line. Because having I can't get over this commercial. It's too good. But so look, Karen Handel ran a good race. You could, I think she said some ridiculous crap. I had a video about one of the crazy things she said, but you can't deny the fact that she was out there, and I believe this is might not even be her ad. It's actually a Super PAC ad, so she didn't even necessarily push this ad out there, but she had support and money in the right place. And when you put money into TV commercials, that works for Republicans, because generally it works for older voters, and older voters tend to vote more Republican. But the Democrats can't use that same strategy, because Democrats have to chase younger voters, because the younger voters tend to be the more progressive Democratic liberal voters. So you can't have the same sort of TV ads running or using the same strategy to defeat a Republican. There has to be a new way of thinking to actually go and grab those voters. So, I mean, overall, there are so many things that I'm sure Ossoff could have done better, but I'm not here to really break down the entire election. There is other people, other perspectives, other videos you can check out for that. But I just wanted to dispel that idea that Democrats should be chasing just the same little pack of 40% of people that vote. They should actually be going after people who are disillusioned with the two-party system and people that aren't voting. If you go after the people that aren't voting and you get those voters, then you win elections.